Okay, moving on the Tribeca train, as I call it. We are today very, very blessed to have April Maxey here. And I say this because today, every single filmmaker I've interviewed, I've absolutely adored their film. Not like, but absolutely adored.
Mm.
She did this absolutely lovely 13-minute piece called Work. And so we're going to get into that. But first of all, let's get into I like to do the personal side of things first, then we'll get to the
Yeah.
actual film part. So talk to me a bit about the transition. I know you're originally from Texas and then moved to LA.
Mhm.
Some of us
Mhm.
who are New Yorkers aren't always quite, yay, sis boom bah on the LA train. Tell me a bit about a transition between both of those. And now that you're in New York attending Tribeca right now, what's the big difference between LA and New York?
So I actually went from San Antonio when I was 18 to New York, and I was in New York for 12 years.
Ah,
And so
okay.
I feel in my heart like I'm more of a New Yorker. And I moved to LA only for the AFI directing workshop for women. And so that was, I've only been there for a year and a half, and it's been
Right.
the pandemic the majority of the time. So I feel like I haven't gotten a true sense of it, but definitely like in New York, there's so much hustle and bustle and you're always busy. I feel like there's a tendency to overbook yourself. I think since I've been in LA, I've had a bit more just like space to enjoy the sunshine, which is like every day.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned AFI, so we have to talk about that. I'm very
Yeah.
familiar with AFI. I'm always curious to ask a candidate why the choice to do AFI and not another school like NYU or other places that have a really strong film program.
So I went to Pratt for my undergrad and I majored in film there. They had a very kind of small experimental film program at that time, but I really liked it. And I was not planning on going to like do a master's in film or anything, but and so the program I did at AFI, it's actually tuition free, and it's just they pick only 8 filmmakers, women or
Mhm.
non-binary filmmakers a year. So it's really hard to get in. I actually applied twice, and because I didn't get in the first time. But yeah, I mean, I went there because I knew that program had a great reputation, and it was tuition free education from one of the top film schools.
There are tons and tons, and I've even screened AFI films at my own festival. I have judged them before. The best of the best, and there's a
Yeah.
reason for that. American Film Institute has been around for a very, very long time, and they train you very well, and they're very hands-on, and they're very professional. Tell me the one walkaway or the takeaway that you took from being an AFI, that one piece that you would pass off to any director that you said, all right, I was at AFI, this is what they taught me, this is what they told me, this is the golden rule.
I don't know. I feel like I learned so much there, and it's just
Right.
like, I was making the largest film I'd ever made there. Like this, all my other shorts were very contained and small and had like 2 characters, and work had like so many speaking characters. It had huge scenes with extras. There was intimacy. There was just so much stuff going on. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the advice. Let me think. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't have like one piece.
Director, she has no help for you. That's basically what
I
she's saying. Nothing.
I guess like maybe trust your gut, because I feel like you can get feedback from lots of different channels. Everyone will have a different opinion and a different reaction to your work. We did these wonderful screenwriting workshops where the other people in our cohort gave us feedback and we got to workshop it and stuff. But I think at the end of the day, like somewhere deep down, like what you're making and what you're trying to say, and you have to trust that even if other people don't see it at the time. And I think that
Sure.
goes with everything, that goes with choosing your crew and your actors and stuff. I think listen to your intuition.
See,
Yeah.
no, that wasn't such bad advice. There you go. Are you the type of director? Because I wasn't sure if you use like storyboards, like some people will insist on let's
Mhm.
storyboard everything out, etc. How prepared are you now on set?
Yeah, I think with work, because it was so ambitious and we had such limited time, we only had I mean, we had 2 days in the club, but I really wanted three, and we just couldn't
Sure.
afford that. And I think I'm a very visual person. And so I sat with my DP and we like storyboarded every shot and we shot listed. And then, I think so much of directing is about being over prepared for the technical, and then on the day being willing to kind of still be open, to go with a better idea the second one comes up, or be willing to be flexible, or like use your gut again. Like when you only have time for like 3 more shots and
Right.
you can't do all the storyboards. I just had to think on my feet really quickly a lot because time just goes very, very fast. But yeah, I always try to be over prepared. I think I learn a lot on every set I direct.
Well, and moreover too, I think on the one side of the fence there, because you already know you have to walk in being so prepared, that automatically means
Mhm.
that when you're thinking or plotting out a movie, I'm guessing that you have a line producer, or that you have an extra DP, or you have somebody who is dealing with the little, I don't want to say little because there is no such thing as little on a set, but you know what I mean? You come
Yeah.
to set prepared with the correct crew.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think that was in place for me with work, but it's just also the script is very ambitious, and then the amount of time we have is so small. And so, and then when you're working with like lots of extras and lots of intimacy, like that takes a lot of time. Like I
Yes.
knew that I needed a lot of time to do that intimate scene where the women are dancing together and
Right.
they kiss, because it's like, one, you want to make sure that there is like a safe environment for everyone to feel comfortable to portray that in a way that's believable, because there's so much nuance there. You want to make sure you have like all the coverage, like all the layers that are happening
Mhm.
for the characters in that, in their world there. And it just, I don't know, it just takes so much time. Like I think intimacy takes a lot of time to film. And so then aside from that, we just had like all these other scenes to do. And yeah, I feel like I'm like, one day I hope I'll feel like I have time as a director.
I get it. I do. Now, talk to me a bit about, because I haven't asked the director this. What did you shoot it on? What'd you use?
Oh, yeah, we shot on an Aria Mira for the majority of it. I want to give a shout out. There's a guy in LA, he has a company called Sam Shot It, and he gave us this amazing Amira package with like all the little things, and he just has really friendly rates for indie filmmakers. And then we shot all the dream sequences on a Bolex, like a little wind up 16
Oh,
millimeter.
wow. That's
Yeah.
very cool. That is very, very cool. Would you recommend that to somebody? Meaning, because like sometimes people don't want to use like 16 millimeter in particular. I don't hear a lot of
Mhm.
that actually. Well, I hear a lot of
Yeah.
GoPros, and I hear a lot of all sorts of
Oh.
newer technology, iPhones, things like that. But what is your go-to? Like if you said number one camera to use when directing a short, what would it be? Do you have one?
I've shot a number of shorts on the Amira and I love it. I love the color science of the RE sensor and stuff. For the Bolex stuff, the only reason we did that was because I had a friend who had these 3 rolls of expired 16 millimeter in their fridge. Like since they moved into their New York apartment, they're like, I have these rolls. I don't know, like, do you want them? And they were 20 years expired. And my DP, I feel like she's very much an artist and she's willing to play. And we were just like, yeah, fuck it. Like, let's shoot some memories on it and see. And she was like, it might not work. I don't know. It's expired. Da, da, da. So we did one test roll and then we did expose the other 2 films, which it's only 3 minutes each. So we had 9 minutes to use this film. And I think it turned out beautifully. And I don't know, there's stuff that film does that I don't know. I feel like it makes you feel in a way that's unpredictable and you don't know what it's going to be until you develop it. And yeah, I think it just worked really, really beautifully for us.
It did. Absolutely. Great choice, as a matter of fact. You have so far got two different wins, and both of which, like for instance, one is Film Out San Diego, and then the other one I know is, if I can pronounce it right, let me just see here. It's Kashish Mumbai International
Oh
Queer
yeah.
Film Festival. So
Uh-huh.
those two wins. So clearly these are queer, or Film Out San Diego, of course, are
Hmm.
specified types of film festivals. So my question
Hmm.
to you was, do you feel as though that the excitement or the engagement or the willingness to want to show your film stems from the fact that it is dealing with queer or LGBTQ? Or do you feel as though straight festivals will embrace this, or even more so? Obviously, Tribeca has, etc. But do you feel primarily that most of the success has been through that route, meaning because of the type of film this is?
For a long time, my work was never played outside of the queer festival circuit, and I give credit to the queer festivals for embracing my work for like a very long time. And it's really just the past couple of years since after you left that my work's slowly been getting into, you know, more mainstream festivals. But even so, it's still often in a queer program, which I think, you know, I think it's great. Like it on one hand, and then on the other hand, I remember at Palm Springs after you left, played in a program, and the program was just about breakups. So
Mhm.
there was straight films in it. There was a queer gay man film. Like it was nice to see my. I guess I had never realized until that screening that I had never seen my work out like just placed in the context of just a mainstream story, you know.
Right.
So I think that's cool too, and I look forward to more of that happening. And I also think it's, you know, it's great when mainstream festivals are intentionally carving out space for queer stories. Yeah, I don't know. I hope there's more.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Everybody should be in the same pool, period. Because film is film. I mean, cinema doesn't have that eye. You know what I mean? A good film is a good film, regardless of the theme, etc. And in, for instance, like I know that you were nominated for Best Short Film, so you premiered at Sundance. So now this is two top tier festivals that you've been in. I bet that's a bit surreal. I mean, did you do the oh my God, I can't believe this. This is like two big festivals, etc. What does that feel like for someone such as yourself?
I was shocked and amazed, and I think I like cried when I got that phone call because I was like, "Is this real?" It felt so surreal because I don't know. It's yeah, it's just the odds are so small to get in. I think in this industry, it's so hard. Like so often we it feels like we're putting our self-worth, or we're always seeking this external institutional validation for the work that we create, and it's like I think for so long I didn't have that. It was nice to get that call, and yeah, but I don't know. I feel like we have to know the value in our work outside of that as well. Um
Absolutely. Why do you feel audiences flock to go see your film? What is it about your film that stands out, let's say, among another short film?
I think my film explores few worlds that we don't get to see from a perspective that we don't get to see. You know, I think I'm showing this kind of underground lap dance world, which is this pocket of the sex industry. And I think anytime there's like sex industry or sex work topics, people are kind of like, what is that? You know, because
Right.
there's as a culture we it's interesting. Like it's very puritanical. We kind of condemn like overt sexuality, but it's like everyone's also like secretly intrigued by it. But it's very like, you know,
Sure.
separated. And so I'm showing that world. I feel like I'm taking it another step further from showing it from this woman's eyes who's a queer Latina, um, also emotionally going through a breakup. So she's also this whole other person outside of this world, and we enter kind of knowing who she is outside of it first. So I think that's not something that we see very often.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I know through reading, of course, and in speaking to you, that you have a personal attachment to this for more than a few
Hmm.
different reasons. So, why is April not in her own production?
Oh, I mean, you know, I love directing. So I love working with actors and looking from the outside in. And yeah, I feel like there are lots of people that I think make semi autobiographical work that's starred and directed, but I don't have personally any interest in doing
Ah,
that.
okay, because I knew you had dabbled in acting a bit, so I was like, well, there's got to be a reason why she
Yeah,
wasn't in it.
yeah.
But I gotcha. Now you explore a lot of different things in here. From what I can see as a reviewer, I'm thinking to myself, you know, you've got love on one side of the fence, loss over here, and eventual acceptance. There's
Mm,
the ending, of course. But I want to start off by asking, this is a proof of concept piece. So as I understand it, you're turning this
mm.
into a actual feature. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. That's
Okay.
the yeah.
Okay, so the ending makes sense then, because of course we have this beautiful ending that I don't want to give away because people haven't seen it as of yet. But I do want to say this. I almost feel like the ending really is saying that she is finding the beauty by being reborn, so to speak. She has a rebirth of
Mm,
sorts. And so I
yeah.
see based on what's around her. To me, it
Mhm.
signified, look at all the beauty that you're being reborn. And that's just my take as far as that
I
stuff
love
goes.
that.
But
That's
true. I mean,
beautiful.
that's one person's interpretation, of course. I do want to ask about, during the movie, you give the audience the, I don't know if it's intentional or not, which is what the question is. Are you
Mhm.
intentionally allowing us to believe that her holding hope is not foolish? There's always that
Mm.
side sort of, she could come back, she might come back, this is temporary. Was that
Mhm.
intentional or just an inference?
My goal is to try and show what it's like to get, like, have to let go of somebody and not being in a place where you're quite ready, because I feel like that's a very messy experience. And yeah, there's parts where she's like a little unhinged. She's and I feel like I've been there, and it's, yeah, it's like, what does that process look like? And I think it can be very layered, and I just wanted to kind of express part of that process and invite people to empathize with it, or maybe that they see a sprinkle of a reflection of themselves or their own pain process that they've experienced in it. Yeah.
And you also allow the character, you give a systematic breakdown of the breakup, so to speak. You know, you see her
Mm,
at various different stages, you see her interaction, you see the work portion, and then you see her delving into experimentation, and then you watch, you know, her trying to take a chance, as far as that goes. And you're very realistic. I think the story doesn't give oversized expectations about, okay,
mm.
here's this girl. You keep it very real, very realistic. It's a bit disappointing because there are a few things that happen where you're like, oh, really? Where there's that moment where the audience is kind of rooting for her, like she's starting to get up on her feet, and then certain things happen. Again, we don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
If I were to ask the creator, I see this in my personal perception. I would say that this is a story about a woman who is discovering a new identity based on an old
Mm,
heartache. How would
mm.
you describe your film?
Yeah, I think it's about a woman who is, yeah, trying to find out who she is after the loss of this relationship in her life, which maybe I think when you're in a long-term relationship, you like part of your identity is like intertwined that you're like in this partnership. And so what happens when that is taken away from you, she's searching for who she is and what will fulfill her and what will kind of like help her heal. And I think I love that you interpreted the ending being a rebirth, because I think that is what the film is about. And it's about what does that journey look like to get there. And it might look different for different people, right? But it's like, I think it's all the same, it can all be this like universal emotional thread of like, I don't know, searching and healing and learning about yourself.
Two final questions relative to this. For one, did it ever occur to you that any of the characters, or were any of the characters straight? And then second of all,
Mm,
I have to say that there's an incredible amount of broken that you see through the lead actor, the one who's going through the breakup. And so
mm,
I was just curious to ask if she was fresh off a breakup. I mean, it's almost too realistic, meaning she's
mm,
feeling and living it, like myself if I were
mm.
playing a grieving woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, interesting. So for the first question, you asked if I thought any of the characters were
Would you
straight?
have, were they, I mean, were any of the characters straight? Because I had presumed that everyone in the cast was not, but had you ever given a thought to having it be straight characters as opposed to being LGBTQ?
Like in the narrative of the
Yep.
story?
Yes.
No, I feel like I always write queer
Okay.
characters who are queer to
Nothing
the
wrong with
core.
that. I just had to ask. I was curious. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of our casting crew were queer.
Okay.
I'll say that. But yeah, and I think it's always a treat to work with actors who actually identify as queer, because yeah, I feel like then they have this part of themselves that maybe is connected, and that can be with anything, right? That like an actor going through a breakup might actually have been through one recently.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I can't, yeah, I think that you got that from Maricela's performance is wonderful. I think she did a lot of work to deeply connect to that character, and it came through on screen.
I don't want to forget to ask this question because I'm big on educating filmmakers. So you talked a bit about, of course, being prepared and leaving a lot of extra time when it comes to filming intimacy scenes. So let's say somebody watches this interview and, you know, they're about to embark on doing something as that. What's one thing that you didn't do well with filming those that somebody can learn from? Meaning, like, don't do this when you're on a set when it comes to filming things like that.
Well, I feel like I've filmed a lot of intimacy in the past, and the difference between this film and the other ones is this time I worked with an intimacy coordinator, which I think in my previous films, you know, people didn't even know what that was like when I first started doing shorts. So I think the intimacy all went really well actually, because you know what I learned is that intimacy coordination is like 90% in pre-production, right? It's having conversations with people, myself and the intimacy coordinator, who acts as like a third non-biased party to make sure it's an environment of safety and everything outside of like the director's like creative vision, right? It's like, what are the boundaries, and it's literal like choreography of who's going to touch where at what time. And I think it's just about like over communicating what we're doing, right? So that way everyone is comfortable. Yeah, and I think we did that. I think the intimate scenes worked really well, and that includes not only the women but like all the men receiving lap dances, right? And there were some extras we had that some male extras that did drop out because they were, at first they signed up and then we showed, you know, we over communicated. Like I sent them a video of a lap dance. I'm like, this is like literally like what we're portraying and what's going to be shown. So if you're uncomfortable with that, like, you know, you need to let us know now. And so I think one or two guys actually did drop out, but yeah, I think, but I think that's fine, because it's like, I don't, you know, with intimacy and consent, it's like you always want an enthusiastic yes. So yeah, and then there was plenty of people. There was a lot of dancers who had actual experience dance, like exotic dancing and working in clubs and stuff. So that was amazing to have women who came in just already like just super confident and free, and being able to bring themselves to that. I feel like that offered a lot of life. Yeah.
Very nice. Excellent advice. Now, I realize, of course, that the film is on the at-home shorts pass, and of course it's tonight, but of course most people won't see this interview in time, so I don't think they'll be able to get to New York that quickly. So where are you headed after this with the film?
So after Tribeca, we're going to be at Palm Springs on June 23rd. And then I'm not sure when this interview is going to come out, but after that we'll be at Outfest in LA. So that'll be another LA screening.
And that's when again? That's July?
Outfest is in mid-July. I think our screening is going to be on the 17th of July.
Okay, gotcha. All right, got it. Okay, good. And then, of course, I want to read all these places off because when I was researching, you know, these are all the different places to find her. And again, her name is April. The last name is Maxey. She is on the following: IMDb, aprilmaxey.com, Vimeo, and then, of course, she has two different Instagrams, which is Work Short Film, and of course herself, which is AMAXEY 422. Anywhere else you might be?
No, I think I mostly drive people to Instagram and to my website, because that's where I'm, you know, constantly updating. But yeah.
I don't want to forget to ask this. So how far are you into the feature? When might we expect something like a piggyback?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm on the third draft of the feature right now, and I'm, you know, always, I feel like my writing process, I'm always updating. We're pitching it at the end of this month. We got into a financing intensive lab. So I think that will be announced soon. And yeah, so I mean, yeah, hopefully like late June and July, me and my producer Skylar Andrews will be pitching it to potential financiers and production companies. So it's
very exciting. That's awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much, my dear. You've been such a doll. I really appreciate you taking the time, because I know you have a thing today. Obviously, with the screening, things get a little crazy hectic. So I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. And I am crossing my fingers that you get money and great success. I
Yeah,
wish you would have won an award at Tribeca. I'm so frustrated that everyone can't get an award. These films are exceptional, really.
thank
And yours
you.
is very deserving. You did a wonderful job. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this interview and reaching out and everything. Like it's
Sure.
yeah, very I
Absolutely.
appreciate it so much.